Marcy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Scott.
I figured with mindfulness and meditation, we should start with one of the quotes you have on your website. Meditation is not a way of making your mind quiet. It's a way of entering into the quiet that's already there. Deepak Chopra.
Yes. And to go right along with that, another famous quote that I absolutely love is, "Silence isn't empty, it's full of answers."
Mm. What got you started in mindfulness? Is it mindfulness or meditation, or how do you determine the two?
Meditation and mindfulness, those two really go hand in hand. You can practice them separately, but they certainly are bookends, I guess I would say. I spent 20 years with American Honda Motor Company in sales and service management. And I was on a very, very fast track, as most people are in the corporate world. I worked 60, 70 hours a week. I rarely had a day off. Generally didn't get to take vacation when it was scheduled. And when I did, in 20 years, I was never able to take 2 weeks of vacation back to back. So that kind of pace, in a toxic kind of a work environment really begins to take a toll.
Mm.
And it certainly did for me. I basically burned out. And so my husband and I moved to Central Texas about 16 years ago now, actually. And I started a small business and, it was successful, but I realized that I was still suffering from all of the stress that I had accumulated over those years. I had high blood pressure, I had digestive issues, I suffered insomnia, and all of those things came as a result of stress. So one night, a friend of mine talked me into going to a yoga class. And, I'll be very honest with you, I didn't like yoga. I didn't practice yoga. I didn't want to do yoga, but, I wanted to support her. She wanted to go. And so we went. And that night I meditated for the first time and the doors blew open for me.
Mm. How so?
I felt an enormous sense of relief. I was that night more peaceful than I had ever been in my life. And, it was kind of coming to it from a spiritual standpoint, something that I hadn't really experienced before, but I couldn't get enough. I just kept practicing. And the experience was so profound that, within a couple of weeks, there were real changes taking place within me.
What's your daily routine for meditation?
I practice about 40 minutes in the morning, and then I usually practice for about 15 to 20 minutes at the end of the day. As meditation teachers, we like to call that happy hour meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically that second meditation at the end of the day really helps to kind of offload any stress and anxiety that was accumulated during the day. And starting off in the morning, you really kind of set yourself up to have the best experience. Now, a lot of people don't meditate that long in the morning, but as a teacher, that's a good practice for me, and I simply love doing it. So,
Because during the day, you might be doing meditation throughout the day as well, right? So that's separate.
yes, definitely.
I've dabbled a couple times in different, I've taken a class at University of Massachusetts,
Ah,
the John
John
Kabat-Zinn.
Kabat-Zinn, yes,
Yeah.
MBSR.
Okay. Yep. We took
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then I've dabbled in transcendental meditation as well.
Uh-huh.
So now what is your take on, there's a lot of different types of meditation.
There are.
What are some of the main differences and what do you like the best?
Well, I think that when we talk about things like TM, Transcendental Meditation, Vipassana, Insight, those are all brands of meditation. And those are all well and good, but as an example, in the case of TM or Transcendental Meditation, that can be really exclusive. That community only practices that. And I come from a line of teachers where we practice inclusivity. So I really teach techniques as opposed to traditions. But I love the traditions. I practice, if you were to ask me what my My favorite is, it probably is a mantra practice, which could be considered a little more transcendental than other techniques. But, I practice them all because I teach them all. And
Mm.
so,
And what's the importance of having the right syllable for like your mantra?
well, mantras are really either chanted or silently repeated, and they're really used for their vibrational quality.
Mm.
And so, that is something that is really characteristic of a mantra practice.
When you train people at an organization, what are some of their initial difficulties with meditation?
The word itself, for one, it conjures up a lot of stereotypical images, lots of cliches around meditation. Meditation can be as secular and straightforward at one end of the spectrum as it can be metaphysical, esoteric, spiritual on the other end, and anything in between. So I consider meditation a miracle. And I think that meditation really meets us where we are. So it can be that on one end, something else on the other end, or anything in between.
A lot of us don't have a very good relationship with silence. Now, what happens and how do you coach your clients when they start to sit down and meditate and then they have all these ideas and thoughts that come up?
Mhm.
How do you handle that?
Really, the key to meditation is allowing your nervous system to settle down. Because the definition of meditation is that meditation is a technique or a practice that settles your nervous system and trains your brain to become more focused, more engaged, more responsive, and less reactive. That is the essence of meditation. So, one of the biggest misconceptions about meditation is I can't stop thinking. Well, that's right. You can't. You can't stop thinking about thinking by not thinking about thinking. So in meditation, we sit down and we learn to relax. We learn to settle our nervous systems so that we can create some space between the thoughts that we have. We're always going to have thoughts in meditation. Everyone does, whether you are a monk, an expert meditator, a beginner. It's simply learning what to do with those thoughts as they arise. We create more and more space between those. And ultimately, what happens is we access subtler and subtler levels of the thinking process.
A lot of my listeners are entrepreneurs and solopreneurs. So how could they use meditation and mindfulness to help spur creativity?
I'm so glad that you asked me that because I'm just actually working on a lesson plan right now for a class that I'm going to teach on that.
Wow.
Um, we're born to be creative, and it's not something that we learn. We're born with it. 98% of us are creative geniuses as children, but ultimately what happens is that as adults we begin to lose that. And as adults, we lose almost 98% of that. So, 2% of adults are really, ultimately creative uh, as much as an adult as they were as children. And so with that, the question is why? We can probably look to some aspects of the educational system. If you are in an educational system where it's highly structured with facts and figures, that really tends to suffocate our imagination.
Hmm.
Meditation actually lights up that creative portion of our brain, lights it up like a Manhattan skyline.
Hmm.
That corpus callosum is the part of that actually is affected. And so when we sit down in meditation, that's really one of the biggest benefits to it. We are used to thinking about meditation from a stress and anxiety standpoint, and certainly we need it for that, and it is that. But creativity is something that really can be a benefit of meditation.
How would a daily meditation practice help a leader?
Well, it would help a leader from a standpoint of emotional intelligence. We know that emotional intelligence is what characterizes a really great leader. And so in that respect, some of those hallmarks are things like being able to remain calm when everything else around you is breaking down, using your influence in a positive way, making better decisions, and being better listeners would all be great hallmarks of emotional intelligence and great leadership. And those are all things that are cultivated with meditation and mindfulness practices.
Can you recommend any apps for meditation?
You know, there's a lot of great resources out there. I don't know that I could particularly point to one as being better than another. I think that so much of it is just dependent on personal choice and personal experience. You know, I'm all for apps. If an app is something that someone can use and start a practice, that's terrific. Not everyone can, which is why we have teachers. And so it really just depends a lot on your learning style, on what your personal preferences are.
Hmm. What is your process for consuming the news every day? I can tell that you're a mindful and reflective person. How do you negotiate that with your skills that you have?
Yeah, boy, it's a challenge right now, isn't it? It really is.
Oh, yeah.
It's staying away from as much negativity as you can, obviously, is always going to be a big help. I recommend, you know, limiting your news intake as much as you can. Obviously, we want to, you know, stay informed on what's going on. But, you know, a lot of times, you know, folks get on that hamster wheel of just news story after news story after news story. And when you're absorbing that much negativity just constantly, you know, it really has some detrimental effects for us, obviously. So I think limiting that, you know, we can't live in a hole, but limiting your intake of things like that can really be helpful, particularly right now.
Hmm. What are some of the services you offer at Still State Meditation?
I teach meditation to individuals and groups. I also have an advanced certification in training mindfulness practices in the workplace. Those are practices that are specifically architected for the work environment. I do one-on-one sessions, coaching sessions. One of my biggest audiences is professional women. You know, we're and balancing, trying to balance a lot of things. It's a real juggling act for professional women oftentimes. And so that's a favorite audience that I have.
Besides meditation and mindfulness training, what are some of the other hats you wear?
Being a wife and mother to our two dogs. I do a lot of volunteer work. I'm president of an organization that supports our local state park. I served on our local Chamber of Commerce board for about 7 years, 2 of those years as president. And I'm also a certified Texas Master Naturalist. So do some educating and volunteer work around nature and environmental and conservation issues and topics.
What's a hobby that you enjoy that most people may be surprised about?
Maybe hiking. I love hiking. I love spending time outdoors in nature, and it is so therapeutic. And I'm not sure that people always realize it, but nature can be a terrific backdrop for meditation, like walking meditation, as an example. Nature is incredibly healing. So anything that I can do to get out in nature.
Do you ever use music for meditation?
You know, I get asked that a lot. I don't think that there is anything wrong with listening to music if you're wanting to meditate. However, the thing to keep in mind there is that music can very oftentimes elicit thoughts, and thoughts are what we're really trying to, you know, kind of reduce the amount of and create more space around. So I really consider music more of a sound therapy type of situation.
Okay. Where can people go to find out more information about you and your company?
I am on LinkedIn, so you can go to my profile there. You can also find me on the web. The stillstatemeditation.com is my website. I'm on Facebook, also the Still State Meditation and Mindfulness on Facebook. And yeah, I'm always happy to to talk about meditation with folks and help them realize the miraculous benefits that it has.
Well, this is a very important subject for entrepreneurs, small business owners, and pretty much everybody, mindfulness and meditation. My
That's
final
right.
question is, what's one action step our listeners can take to help them lead a more fulfilling life?
Practice mindfulness.
I knew you were going to say that.
You can start there, and it's very, very easy to do. The mindfulness is paying attention to what you're doing while you're doing it with a non-judgmental attention. It's easy in its description. It can be challenging to practice in life, at least at first. But all it takes is a few seconds. A few seconds turns into a minute or two. A minute or two can turn into much longer. So I would encourage everyone to focus on the present moment. The present moment is where our lives are happening. Our lives are happening right now. John Kabat-Zinn would tell us that if you ask him what the time is, he'd tell you the time is now. So focusing on this present moment and practicing walking through life mindfully would be my suggestion.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Marcy. This has been a great pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Great. It's great to be with you today on the All the Hats We Wear podcast. This show will teach you, the entrepreneur, the time management skills you need to be joyful, productive, and fulfilled. I'm your host, time management coach, and productivity expert, Scott Snow. This is episode 41. We have a very special guest today. Marcy Westcott is a certified meditation and mindfulness instructor with advanced certification in MMI, Mindfulness at Work, through the McLean Meditation Institute of Sedona, Arizona, and Santa Barbara, California. Several years ago, after experiencing the effects of long-term stress and anxiety, Marcy began to practice meditation. She quickly began to realize significant benefits to her physical, emotional, and mental well-being. As her practice deepened, she observed family and friends struggle with life's challenges and pressures. She looked for accessible, secular meditation styles that might help them realize the same benefits she had in her life. Marcy studied McLean Meditation Institution founder Sarah McLean's meditation teachings, and through them experienced more benefits to her mental, emotional, and physical health. This led her to hear the call to teach. After completing a rigorous 200-hour course culminating with a 50-hour intensive in Sedona, Arizona, she graduated from the renowned McLean Meditation Teacher Academy. Marcy is passionate about meditation and mindfulness and is dedicated and honored to help anyone discover the life-changing benefits of establishing a meditation and mindfulness practice. You're meant to do great things. If you want to be an innovator and visionary, you have to manage your busy life like one. The All the Hats We Wear planner is the planner for the future. I want to give you a free month of the planner to try out for yourself. Nothing will slip through the cracks anymore. When you use the All the Hats We Wear planner, you'll have everything you need at your fingertips. All of your goals, a vision statement, a list of daily habits, and a checklist to track your progress. Key information for the small and large projects on your plate. Daily sheets to clarify your top outcomes for each day. A week at a glance section to plan for the coming weeks, and much more. The All the Hats We Wear planner will be your roadmap to a more joyful, productive, and fulfilling life. To claim your free month so you can see for yourself how it will streamline your busy life, visit allthehatswewear.com.